a soccer down here 1v1, except when it's a 2v1. And it's time to catch up with our friends at BC Training, Will Bagrou, Dakota Nosa, as they lay things out for what they're doing there at BC Training. Guys, thanks for hanging out for a 2v1.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So I have a number in my head, and it's between 1 and 20. This is how we're going to determine who gets to answer questions first or has the option to defer. All right. So, Will, since I mentioned your name first, I have a number between 1 and 20 in my head. Give me a number.
I'm going with 9. I have to.
Dakota, give me a number.
13.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'll go Will. We'll go Price is Right rules because the number was 11.
Let's go.
And
Let's go.
Dakota was over. We have to go Price is Right rules.
Sorry, you would have done 10.
Wow.
Yeah. So Will gets the option to either answer the question first or defer. Will, what is your choice?
Defer to my boy Dakota. I'll let him go first.
All right. So Dakota, let me ask you this. How did BC Training get started?
BC Training was started not by any intention. It was a manifestation of just both of our, I guess, upbringings. And, you know, Will's been like a big brother to me. So it started off as him passing me on expertise on the field, and off the field, I was trying to find ways for us to maintain our bodies as we were getting older because we had been through, you know, serious injuries. And I wanted to somehow make a formula to where we could reach a level that I would consider bulletproof, you know, for lack of a better term, in our bodies. And so we would just work off each other that way, whether it was waking up in the morning, going to the gym, or he would help me prepare for any opportunity I got to play. And so that's how it started. And what it turned into was kids kind of just coming to us for, it's not really any other way to explain it. Like people would just show up, if that's the that's the best way I can say it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So that's kind of how BC started, and it's taken off, and we've kind of built a community.
So Will, let me ask you this. When it comes to this community that you've built, have the results surprised even the two of you as to how things have grown?
It surprised me a lot because I don't think we really expected to make this much of an impact this quickly, especially just with the individual trainings that we do with our clients. You know, we have players jumping from SCCL to ECNL, right, ECNL to Academy. It's just a quick turnaround, in my opinion, because, you know, me and Dakota know how this works. It takes usually years of hard work and dedication to maybe even go to the next level. So when we're seeing these kind of results in months, it's really surprising and it's humbling at the same time. You know, it shows that, you know, our formula, like Dakota says, does work.
And I know, Dakota, that the basics when it comes to BC Training have to do with injury prevention, like you've been saying.
Right.
Training to make sure that those injuries are prevented, and you know, they're almost to the back of the line when it comes to what you want to be as an athlete, because the last thing you want in your head is trying to be too safe, especially coming back from recovery, you know, getting past your potential. And the interesting thing that that I thought was cool about this, getting back to basics, because I think sometimes we do get lost in the sauce a little bit, whether we're a coach or a mentor or an advisor. Sometimes you're thinking about things in 3 dimensions, but at the same time, you know, Dakota, 2 dimensions is cool. Going back to square one to rebuild is just as good as it could be the other way.
One thing I like to add to that is your mental state when you get back from an injury.
Yeah.
A lot of people, the majority, I'd venture to say, are going to be in the back of their minds concerned with, you know, can I get back to where I was? And is it going to limit you when you're on the field as to how much you might push yourself? What we try to do is establish a strong foundation. And once you have that foundation, obviously, there's no such thing as perfect. So you're constantly improving every day. And if you really do aspire to play at another level, you will never be satisfied. It'll be trying to push yourself every single day. But once that foundation is built and you have that knowledge that your body, you can trust it, that's when the other half comes in. And that's when Will steps in and we take it to the field, and it's match related specific drills. And that's how we've seen such a turnout.
Will, how tough is it to trust your body especially in injury recovery. I mean, we get into the mental state here, but I find that that's probably one of the toughest things to do. Is like, you know how to do it, but getting back to doing it seems to be that mental block that folks kind of lock in at sometimes.
Yeah, it can be really tough. I'll say that. And I think the most important thing is preparation. When you prepare and you do push yourself, you push your limits in training, then on the game on the field, the results are going to show. And that's why what Dakota's saying is, we're not going to push players too far, but we are going to push you past your potential. Especially with that mental block of injuries. We did have a player, she was like recovering from an ACL, and the mental barrier is there, but she does need, certain individuals to push her, you know what I mean, through certain drills, through the injury prevention. That's how you can get more comfortable in your body doing those activities once again through those repetition. So it's hard to trust your body, but at the same time, that's why you train. You have to push yourself off the field to be prepared.
So then, Dakota, let me ask you this: when it comes to, I guess, the mental itinerary that the two of you have when it comes to having the training rituals and everything laid out, how long did it take you guys to sit there and come up with an itinerary and an approach that you felt comfortable enough with to sit there and say, okay, this is how we need to proceed? Or is it still a work in progress as you guys continue to learn?
I think that's a great question. The reality is BC training in itself and at its core it's basically a foundation of our lifestyle. So the way that we've conducted ourselves from the moment me and Willie started hanging out up until now, whether that was early mornings in the gym or on the field, everything in between, it's no different than the lifestyle of when you're playing professionally. What that translated into was, how do we structure that for a 3-4-year-old, 13, 14-year-old, so on and so forth? How do we structure that to their schedule, the level they're playing at? And what it is it's like no different than man management. So we take it on a singular individual basis. From there, we get a scope of, okay, this is what you need to work on. This is your imbalances within your body. This is what you need to work on in your games. And we try to implement as much of our lifestyle and standards into each and every individual. And we've seen a great turnout, like we've already said.
So, Will, describe your lifestyle and your standards that you and Dakota have set forth here at BC. How would you best break that down so folks know what to anticipate when you come storming in the door and you and Dakota are like, all right, let's go. Let's get into lifestyle and standard here. What are the lifestyles and standards set forth by BC?
Yeah, I'd always have to tie it back to my playing days. Right now I hung up my boots, but when I always was training at Mercer, or even when I was playing professionally, it was so important to have a certain standard for myself. And so I would even tell Dakota many times when I'm talking to him about his game and what I think he needs to do to make it to the next level or stay in the next level as well, is I woke up at 4 a.m. every single day to train. And I did it not because I could go train at 7 p.m. and I get the same result, but it gave me a certain mentality, that I'm going to wake up early in the morning. And the first thing I'm going to do is train. And my results show through, my career at Mercer. I was fortunate enough to have a, pretty good career there, but it was a result of my work. And so I don't stop doing that even right now. I wake up every single morning and I go to the gym. I'm not going to tell our athletes to do something that we simply cannot do. We're still holding that standard very, very high, and we're still professionals at the end of the day. So we're not going to go out there and tell an athlete to do single leg agility or focus on curling the ball if we can't even do those simple tasks. You know what I mean? So the standard is set very, very high by ourselves, and we pass that along to our athletes. And what they should expect is intensity, because all of our training sessions are match realistic. We're not going to put down 1,000,001 cones. We're going to put down a few cones that is based off structure for the drill, but with the intent of making it match realistic. So I think that's what they can expect. But at the end of the day, we also want to tell them to enjoy the game. If you're not enjoying this, you're wasting your time. You're wasting our time too. You should be out there to enjoy and have fun, but still work very, very hard. And that's when you get the best results though.
Will Bagrou and Dakota Nosa, BC Training, hanging out with us here for a Soccer Down Here 2v1, because there's two of them and one of me, as we go through BC Training and break down what it's been like to build this process and what to expect when folks want to invest in themselves at BC Training. So, Dakota, let me ask you this. What's it like being a mentee from the perspective of being there with Will, but now a mentor to others? You're the middle link in the chain, it seems, here in this equation, where Will was there for you. Now you get to be there with Will and for others. What's that like, being that link in the chain?
It was very humbling because obviously Will was someone who believed in me when I was struggling to believe in myself. And that goes deeper into the way I came up in my playing. But what it became was understanding the effect that we both had on kids from all age ranges, up until some of our top clients, some kids who we say, wow, these kids really do have potential. And all of our clients have potential, but really understanding just how much we impact them. I guess I never was really looking at it that way, because it was in a selfish kind of way. I was so immersed in my own, development and whatnot. What BC Training did for me in the role that you're describing is understanding just how much I need to get over myself and be there for these kids, even on bad days, right? And what it does is it gives a lot back to you. And you hear that a lot, but until you're actually living it and implementing it and putting others before yourself, you're not going to really understand the weight of those words.
Will, how much of the messaging and the implementation is universal? How much of this can apply for the 3 and the 4-year-old, the preschooler, the pre-K, the elementary school athlete, the high school athlete, and then those that want to take those next steps past high school into collegiate or organizational play? How much of this messaging is universal, and how much do the two of you have to tweak and adjust because of the ages of the athlete?
Yeah. So, I mean, for the younger clients, we are going to focus on more on the technical aspect of the game. But, having that technical foundation as a kid is what makes it so universal. So when you reach that 18-year-old age range, you have that technical ability. Now we can progress into match realistic situations. Now, with the injury prevention, we always harp on our younger athletes, please take this very seriously, because when I was 14, you couldn't pay me to do what we're making our athletes do right now. There is no chance I would do it. But at the end of the day, if I did do it and I did have that knowledge, I probably would have had a longer career, and I probably wouldn't have gotten injured the way I did. So I do think it is very universal. And I do want to touch on, we even have trained a guy that had no knowledge of soccer, played American football. Now he goes and he plays pickup games, co-ed leagues, and all that stuff. So I really do think it's universal. We do want to prove that our stuff works. We can make someone who's never played soccer before at least have the basic knowledge of soccer and progress from there. We can take the kid who is the top player in ECNL and still bring him to the next level. We can train a 3-year-old and make them have the foundation of being a good soccer player, so that when they are older, they'll be stars.
Last question for both of you, and it's the same question. Dakota, when you and Will are with those individuals that you're training and the light comes on, they finally get where you're going with this. What's that moment like for you, Dakota, when you see the light come on for that individual and they're like, yeah, man, this is okay, I get it now? What's it like to see those individuals get what you're trying to do at BC?
It makes all the tiny frustrations of starting something up like this worth it. And that's the simplest way I can put it. Sometimes me and Willa just shoot a look at each other and we don't really have to say anything because we're watching it happen. And it's always a great feeling. But like I said, because we are who we are, we're never going to be satisfied. We're immensely proud of all of our clients. We're going to continue to raise the standard every time until our results speak for themselves on a worldwide scale.
All right. So Will, go for it. What's it like when you see the light come on?
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, I have to be honest. And it's really just like relieving too at the same time, just because as a trader, you do get frustrated sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just harping the basics over and over again. But every athlete is different. Some athletes are gonna get it in one try. Some athletes, it's going to take months for them to understand something and get down and master something, I should say. And we were training a U10, 11 girl a few days ago on Saturday after the USA Netherlands game. And it was our first time training her. I was recording Dakota, like explaining the agility drill to her. The first few times she didn't get it. And then Dakota broke it down perfectly, talking about how your shoulders are like synchronized with your knees and so forth, the different parts of your body. And then right after it's done, she goes and does it, and she does it perfectly. And, you know, it's just like, I showed him and he was like, whoa, like, that's actually crazy that I did that. Because sometimes it's like, we do it, but we're just so in it, we don't even realize it. So when I got that on film and showed him, it's a great feeling.
Yeah.
You know, it is a sense of relief that our stuff does work because our proof is in the pudding.
All right, time to cut the promo. For those that want to get involved and engaged at BC Training, how do they do it?
So follow us on Instagram, BC Training, Facebook, TikTok. Our email is bctraining99@gmail.com. If you are interested, feel free to DM us, email us, and let's get started. Let's go to work.
Will Bagrou and Dakota Nosa, BC Training. Guys, thanks for hanging out for a Soccer Down Here 2v1, and we wish you nothing but success, and glad to see that you guys are giving back to those that want to learn more about the game. Thanks for hanging out with us for a 2v1.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, John.